In today's program, Open Day, how Dozor unit guys paid a visit to some drug dealers. Time to gather stones. Amber has been found again on the border with Poland. Hit the target, give artificial respiration and fight off an attacker, the commander's landing on a shooting range. Regardless of age, rank and gender, servicemen of the administration of the State Border Guard Service raised their professional skills at this shooting range near Kiev. Shooting, physical and special training, tactical medicine and personal security – these were the main areas on the basis of which training platforms were organized, so that military personnel proved that they're ready for all situations. First of all, a person should be a specialist in his own field. Any officer, any serviceman must perform his or her duties not only during peacetime, but also during combat operations and during martial law and a special period. In the course of shooting training, the actions taken by border guards during an armed attack by the enemy are examined. We work out various elements on how to handle weapons shooting from different positions, from one's place, from shelter, and while in motion, with the transition from machine gun to handgun. The program is not just made up of credits, but learning how to handle new weapons. This time, training participants got to grips with the Turkish-made Canik gun, the weapon especially designed for the Luger cartridge. By the way, the latter are used in the famous MP5 submachine gun. The famous flagship of the German Heckler & Koch company is already used by special-purpose border staff. Other units are next in line. This is training for personal security and use of force. The instructor shows you the correct way of getting free of attackers. This is a vital necessity in our times. After all, border guards are facing more and more aggression from offenders or smugglers. They try, using whatever means they can, simply to escape or even to take the border guard's weapon and use it, even against him. Exercises that were difficult, even for experienced servicemen, were performed by all participants of the training exercises, without any indulgences. I, as a manager, as an assistant to the shooting practice leader on the field, am pleased with the work of these officers, regardless of whether this is a male or female service person. One of the oldest professions is hunting. After all, it was necessary to survive somehow. Later, people came up with another way of getting food – farming. But third place can be taken by criminals. Why so? When our ancestors built the first settlements and then cities, there appeared immediately among them those who preferred to live at the expense of others. Later, they were organized in a group with loud names – mafia, yakuza, triads, and so on. First of all, it sounds so beautiful. Well, and it's easier to fool people via such a group. Today, criminals work without unnecessary pathos. However, even deep conspiracy does not help them. Recently, border guards working with police officers, the Security Service of Ukraine and Prosecutor's Office neutralized two criminal groups that were operating in Odessa region. The specialization of these criminals were heroin, methadone, and other heavy drugs, and it all began in Kharkiv region at the Pisky checkpoint. This respectable grandpa came from Russia. That first impression is deceptive because he's a drug courier. They found 600 grams of heroin in the pensioner's jacket, and just a few days later, two more members of the gang were detained in Odessa, the leader and a drug dealer. They were detained when receiving a regular batch of drugs by mail. The offenders had firearms and bladed steel on their person. Searches revealed pre-packed heroin and methadone doses, as well as 3 handguns. Another operation with a similar finale took place a few days later, and again in Odessa. This is the underground warehouse of a different criminal group. The product range is quite wide. They kept currency, jewelry, weapons, and explosives. And the main thing on offer was drugs. As they say, everything for people. The doors are also reliable, like in a bank, but all their efforts were in vain, because it was not just anybody that was working, but the border guards of the Dozor Special Forces Unit. And they don't mess around. They found large sums of money, drugs, documents, and other evidence of illegal activity. The network was neatly nailed along with those who organized it. All of them are currently under arrest. Drug traffickers can get up to 10 years in prison for the crimes they committed. Who else out of the offenders wants to get to meet these serious guys? Don't you want to? Well, perhaps they're coming to you right now. Up next, time to gather stones. Amber has been found again on the border with Poland. A broken dream and discarded cigarettes. How cadets became acquainted with the border. Universal Fighters. Chernivtsi hosted a championship on a new sport. Smuggled items were seized recently on the Ukrainian-Polish border. At Ustyluh checkpoint, border guards of the Lviv detachment, together with customs officers, decided to check out this modest passenger car, and it paid off, as amber was hidden in the vehicle. As much as 12 kilograms of precious stones were taken from secret compartments in the vehicle. The driver and its cargo have been detained. Law enforcers, of course, are good guys. However, please wait, don't applaud yet. The capture of a smuggler does not mean he'll be punished. You don't believe us? Well, here's an example. Back in 2015, on the way to Poland, one gentleman was also caught smuggling 10 kilograms of amber hidden in fuel cans. Then the Halitsky District Court of Lviv confiscated the goods and fined him 209,000 hryvnias. The man appealed, and the case was delayed for years. Due to lengthy consideration, it was closed a month ago, and all the sunny-colored stone was returned to its owner, and such cases are not unique. Perhaps something is wrong with the amber or with the legal proceedings. Everything seems fine with the former. It is trendy today on the world market, but Themis sometimes seems not only blind but deaf too. In our previous program, we talked about cadets of the Border Academy who came to practice in Bukovina. Then a group of future officers had just arrived to a unit of the Chernivtsi detachment. The young guys and girls were just settling in. But just a few days later, they were forced to get to know real border violators, not those in training pamphlets. Moreover, the latter obviously were not so delighted. For example, the plans of 4 citizens of Pakistan did not include this meeting. They traveled to Romania. They were a few kilometers away from their dream. And suddenly, such trouble. The border unit, together with the academy's cadets, detained the travelers on the outskirts of the village of Arshitsia. Goodbye to that dream. But there's nothing to complain about. Everything was according to the law here. The young officers did not escape meeting smugglers either. And they're so nimble-footed and experienced in these parts. It was precisely this infamous group that stubbornly stormed the blocking fence when efforts were being made to stop it near the infamous smuggling base, the town of Krasnoyelsk. Although it was possible to only catch one criminal, cigarette smugglers have suffered big losses recently. 20,000 packets of tobacco products left behind by the escaping smugglers is no small amount. The search for the rest of the group continues, and the cadets are getting ready for common meetings and most likely equally striking impressions. Before getting into the ring, they must overcome an obstacle course, throw knives and hit a target from a rifle. The trick is to do this as quickly as possible and without errors. These are the rules of the universal fight. The Ukrainian championship for this military applied sport was hosted for the 3rd time by Chernivtsi. Border guards make up 1/3 of the 164 participants taking part in the competition. The athletes came from different regions of Ukraine, but the biggest team is from Khmelnytsky Oblast. At the Bogdan Khmelnytsky Border Academy, this sport is promoted possible every way, because it is regarded as good training for future officers. Universal fighters are coming out into the ring at the final stage. As you see, the test is not for weaklings. Though quite unexpectedly, there are a lot of girls among the athletes. You're thinking this is not for them? Get rid of these stereotypes. The judges are watching each contestant closely, because the results will go towards forming the national team that will take part in the European Championship and World Cup. The organizers assure us of one thing: the universal fight is a very promising sport for Ukraine. And finally, the result: the team from Khmelnytsky Oblast won the championship. Second place went to the local Bukovina team, while in bronze went to Odessa.